Now, we are looking over the community of Queensborough. Queensborough is and was quite a unique community due to its isolated location, geography, agricultural and industrial history, but also its early culturally diverse history. Let's look at why it was geographically unique. Sitting on Lulu Island, its unique geography features made it distinctly different from the rest of New Westminster. The land the community sits upon is called an alluvial flatland, which is a geographic feature made up of unconsolidated sedimentary deposits building up on the floodplain from roughly 10,000 years ago. These floodplain soils made the island relatively adept for agriculture. These unique features made it desirable for settlement. We understand that First Nations recognize this land for its importance in the seasonal collection of food from the fertile soil of the land and for its seasonal fishing uses. Now on to the community history. Later on, Queensborough became a closely knit community for many generations. It attracted many immigrant families from all over the world: South Asian, Italian, Japanese, Scandinavian, Chinese, and Slovakian. This was because the land was comparably affordable to the rest of New Westminster. Many immigrant families here had farms in Queensborough. To some extent, there was a shared experience being new to Canada which tied these communities together. My own family had their start here as well. As a result of this diverse history, Queensborough has many cultural traditions that remained a part of the community's identity. Places of worship, community halls, and other buildings were features expressing this multiculturalism of the community and reflecting the cultural diversity of the tight-knit community itself. The island's lumber mills and woodworking industries attracted South Asian Canadian community members, and as a result, this area is made up of one of Canada's oldest Sikh communities. Also, the large Italian Canadian presence was in part a result of the work by Anthony Sprice and the Spagnol family. Sprice opened the area's first real estate business, general store, post office, and gas station. The Spagnols later owned the general store and built the business into a neighborhood institution and cultural focus. The proximity to the Fraser River and the resources of salmon and fishing led to the development of Japanese and Scandinavian fishing communities here as well. Unfortunately, as a result of the Japanese internment, the Japanese Canadian population fell greatly, and few came back to the area. Some significant families, like the Kamachi family, did come back to Queensborough though, and resumed their fishing and boat building businesses in Queensborough. But the community was greatly impacted as a result of this removal. New Westminster's Chinese Canadian community grew out of the city and its Chinatowns and into Queensborough due to the canneries on Lulu Island bordering them in community homes on the island. The Chinese and Japanese market gardens were another contributor to the draw for East Asian Canadian communities, and by the 1920s, at least 90% of produce grown in BC came from Chinese Canadian farmers. Slovakian Canadian immigration picked up after World War I here as well, allowing the community to find employment in the island's lumber industries. If you'd like to learn more about the histories of some of the many communities in our area, we invite you to visit our YouTube page. Links to the South Asian communities in New Westminster, Japanese communities in New Westminster, and the Chinese communities in New Westminster are all in the write-up of this document. Now on to the industrial history. Another key feature of Queensborough's history was its industrial history. There was a lot of waterfront work in Queensborough. This included shipbuilding, sawmills, canneries, lumber mills, etc. The community had many sawmills, and in the 1960s, McMillan Blodell sawmill alone covered more than half of the Queensborough waterfront. Another feature of the working waterfront here were the beehive burners, an iconic image to see along the Queensborough waterfront. The job would entail a large, tall dome structure about 80 feet across and 2 stories high. These were used to heat and steam. Milling lumber produces a great deal of wood by product. So, in the early 1970s, the solution for getting rid of this byproduct was to burn it in a beehive burner. The smoke and ash fouled the air and dirtied cars and windows and laundry in New Westminster. So eventually the industry developed new processes and composite wood products to use the waste. Here, teenagers were working in the beehive burners, cleaning the grates because if they were too full of ash, they couldn't burn more wood for scrap. Over time, the mills and other industries in Queensborough changed based upon the lumber industry as well. So the story on Queensborough Mills reflects the wider story of mills in BC, processing, then expansion into niche factories and manufacturing like broom handles, moldings, boxes, etc. McMillan Bloedel was eventually bought by Weyerhaeuser, an American conglomerate in the late 1990s. Interfor, New Westminster's last lumber mill, was closed here in 2008, and today it is a transloading facility, Damco. This facility is a warehouse that receives shipments by truck in shipping containers or cargo from the port in Tsawwassen, which reorganizes it and packs it into different trucks for distribution as far as Ontario or as local as Surrey. This might explain the volume of trucks in New Westminster.